Most people know this animal sadly from the Jurassic movies, where it's depicted as a small dinosaur that spits venom and can be manhandled by a fairly fit person. They made every other carnivore overpowered but this one. The small dog-sized velociraptors turned into lion-sized crashouts, and the Dilophosaurus got scaled down to the size of a big teddy bear. The real Dilophosaurus was 22 feet long and almost 1,000 pounds. This size made it the largest predator in the early Jurassic, with no other carnivore being able to rival it. While Jurassic World nerfed them to the point where they could be choked out by a person with one hand, I'll tell you this, if Owen tried this with the Dilophosaurus in this video, his hand would be removed before he could even make contact. After I think a month of it being requested, I'm finally doing it. The strongest Dilophosaurus in media. We got versions of these animals that can take bullets from assault rifles, all the way to underrated novel monsters that rip out the intestines of their victims just to make them suffer. It's gonna be an interesting one folks, so buckle in. Just before we get into the video, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It really does help your boy out in the algorithm, which allows me to keep making videos like this. Shameless plug complete, let's see what are the most powerful versions of these underestimated theropods. Leave at least 2 dinos in the comments who you think will be in the video before I start the list. But you just said the Jurassic franchise Dilophosaurus was weak. Yes I did, but what I meant was the movie versions. In the novels, this animal maintains its true size and is actually malicious. The only other way I think you could be killed worse was if the Troodons were to get you in Jurassic Park the game. While in the movie they were about the size of a golden retriever, the novel variants were almost 24 feet long and weighed more than the average grizzly bear. They lacked the distinctive thrill the movie gave, but it still retained their venom. Michael Crichton's versions however seem to have the faster effect. They have a pretty cool pattern too. I think it's the best pattern out of all the dinosaurs aside from the Carnotaurus that looked like an actual lizard. The Dilophosaurus is seen a few times in the novel, with the earliest being when it was seen drinking some water in the river. But by far the most notorious interaction with this animal was the one Nedry had with it. And I know he'd choose the movie death over his novel fate every single time. The reason for his death is kinda the same in both iterations. He stole dinosaur embryos to go sell off. In the novel he is stopped by a giant wall he saw last minute because it was pouring, and he decided to go outside and get his bearings. After going through the jungle he found himself next to one of the main rivers in the park. Now getting an idea of where he was on the island, he turned around and started to walk back to his car through the jungle. But he heard a faint hooting noise, almost like an owl. He thought nothing of it at first, but soon the hooting seemed to not just get louder, but closer too. He started to walk fast, and so did the animal. Soon he began to see a silhouette moving at the same pace he was, and at that point it was an all-out race to see who would make it out of the jungle first. And if he lost this race, the thing he would lose was his life. He made it back to the jeep, looking around to see if anything else was there with him. In a sigh of relief he began to walk back to the vehicle, thinking he was in the clear, but then he stopped dead in his tracks. Illuminated by the jeep's headlights, a 10-foot tall figure with glowing white eyes watched him. For a while they both just stood there, looking at each other, seemingly waiting for one to make the first move. During all of this, the animal still made its faint owl noises and decided to make its first move. It spat at Nedry with the venom landing on his clothes. It was sticky in texture and had an off smell. Then it spat for a second time. This time it started to feel like burning acid. Not wanting to find out what the third would feel like, he started to make his way back to the car, maintaining eye contact with the theropod. However, he still would feel the third venom dose, because he had to briefly turn around to open the car, and when he did turn back to the animal, it spat in his eye and made him writhe on the floor in pain. After gaining the strength to try and open his eyes, he was just met with another level of darkness. The Dilophosaurus venom had made him blind. Before he could truly process all of this, the animal had enough power to split his stomach right open. It was so clean that he didn't realize he was cut for a few seconds, until he grabbed his own intestines and realized what he was holding. As he slumped down to the floor, the animal grabbed him by his skull and lifted the 300+ pound man in the air with no effort. It was like a crane lifting a heavy item. Blind and confused, Nedry tried his best to push his intestines back into his stomach cavity, in hopes that everything would get better if he could. But it didn't matter. The animal held him up in the air and Nedry succumbed to his injuries after minutes. This animal was strong enough to slice a clothed man's stomach open with just one hand, and then lift him into the air without any struggle. It had the same curious nature as the movie one, but it's much more malicious. What I never understood was why not just kill Nedry the moment it blinded him. It sliced open his stomach and let him wriggle on the floor, and then decided to lift him up by the head into the air as though it was sacrificing Nedry to something. Like, why not just kill him instead of doing all of this? If you guys have your own theories, leave it in the comments. The next Dilophosaurus doesn't hold such malicious intent, but it can shrug off bullets from shotguns so many times that you'd wish it was the Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus you were dealing with. This Dilophosaurus is by far the biggest one on the list and has a massive head in proportion to its overall body size. It comes from Turok, which has one of the most famous dinosaurs in gaming history, Mama Scarface, a grizzled T-Rex the size of a medium-sized sauropod that plays as a final boss. In the game, you play as a space marine sent to get a former general who is wanted and trapped on a planet filled with dinosaurs. These dinosaurs are different from their accurate Earth counterparts. They are hyper-aggressive and will continue attacking until killed. The most common threats are the different raptor species that can wipe out a small squadron if not careful. The Dilophosaurus, however, is in a different league on its own. I think the wiki says this thing is like 15 feet long and 8 feet tall, but that's not true in the slightest. This animal is almost 30 feet long, and when it's fully upright, it's more than 12 feet tall. With its overall proportions, I'd say it weighs more than a ton. This size doesn't hold it back though. The animal can sprint and dodge attacks at times, and it needs these when its competitions are raptors on cocaine. All the animals in this game look rabid, but the raptors especially look like they'd sell their children for a hit. The animal had some serious durability. It can take a good amount of bullets from shotguns and automatic rifles. Even an arrow from a compound bow shot into its chest won't kill it, indicating this animal has extremely thick skin. Even when a takedown is done, the character chooses to go for the eyes instead of anywhere else on the animal's body, more than likely because it's the only really exposed area. If taking bullets wasn't enough, it can take an explosive arrow directly to the ribs and somehow stay alive. It would be brought to the ground and start writhing in pain, but if you don't kill it in the moment, it will get right back up and begin to charge. This animal also travels in packs sometimes, not on the level of the raptors, but just enough that it could take out a small troop with guns if they aren't skilled and can't make quick decisions. It isn't as cunning or thinks as much as the Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus. It's quite the opposite. It's manic and behaves like an animal with rabies. One reason for this may be due to the fact that they themselves can become prey for the largest predators on the planet, such as the T-Rexes and the Giganotosaurus. It wouldn't survive in that ecosystem if it was calm and relaxed. Everything there has to be a crasher to survive. In order to kill one of these things, you have to stay focused. Even some of the most advanced weapons like these weird laser looking things don't seem to kill them in one single go, and during the time it takes for it to cool off, the Dilo can close the gap. It usually headbutts its target to the floor to leave them wide open to attacks, and sometimes uses their tail, which is so powerful that it almost instantly knocks you out. And while you're in that state, they start to eat you alive. It sure is the biggest and most ravenous, but that doesn't mean it's the strongest. That title goes to a Dilophosaurus that moves so fast that after images start to form in its trail. I can't remember the last time a dinosaur character was mentioned in one of these lists. It really has been a while, but we're finally back, ladies and gentlemen. But the Dilophosaurus isn't from that show, it's from the arcade game. In Dinosaur King, the weakest of these dinosaurs scale to about large building level, while some of the strongest can destroy planets at will if they choose to. This Dilophosaurus in the game sits somewhere in the middle. I never played this game as a kid. Like in some of my other videos, I mentioned the only arcade game I really played was the game that had all the giant bugs on an island. As for dinosaur games, the closest thing to a pick your character Street Fight Club type of game was Jurassic Fight Club. Anyway, the Dilophosaurus in this arcade game easily takes the crown as the strongest dino on the list. This is one of the fastest dinosaurs in the game, and in its base attacks it can trade blows with some large ceratopsians with its head, and has enough strength to lift them up with its neck and send them into large rocks, crushing them. The animal has a few special attacks. One of them is when it moves so fast that it forms doppelgangers around different sides of the opponent. All these versions slice the opponent on different sides and angles just to rejoin as a single animal. If that's not fast enough, it can move so fast that a mini tornado forms around it and then the target, where it seemingly vanishes into thin air. And all you see after that are white streaks that repeatedly strike the poor dinosaur until it succumbs to its injury. If any normal animal moved that fast, it would be turned into mush. The most powerful attack is the one where it manages to split reality or a fabric of reality for a brief instant. It forms another mini tornado where it then uses its tail to send out wind slashes that split reality every time it lands a hit on a dinosaur. And it can do this over and over. These attacks would slice a large skyscraper in half. If you're wondering why the opponents don't die then, you gotta remember that the dinosaurs in this show can withstand country level attacks from each other and still fight. Speaking of durability, this Dilo has more durability than some of the bigger dinosaurs. Like I said earlier, it's able to trade blows with a ceratopsian and just shake it off. Ceratopsians are literally built for this type of fighting, yet they seem to be just as affected as the Dilophosaurus. It can even withstand being crushed by the earth. when a Kentrosaurus causes a mini earthquake, which results in the Dilophosaurus falling in between the cracks, it pushes the earth back together and this still doesn't manage to kill the Dilo. Now this is many tons of force being exerted on this animal's body, and it just climbs out after enduring the attack, ready to fight again. If this thing can take on attacks like that, it's safe to say that even if Turok and his entire squad try to take the Dilophosaurus down with the most advanced weaponry, they would all get one shot. The last Dilophosaurus may have the most terrifying effect of any other dinosaur out there, not just its own species. The Jurassic novel Dilophosaurus is pretty scary on its own, but the Isle Dilophosaurus takes this up a notch. The Isle is basically a horror game with dinosaurs if you're not an adult, and not an Apex one at that. I didn't play the game as much, but when I did, I would usually get killed off just before I can make it to a sub-adult, and the one time where I was like 3% away from being an adult, some f***ing Ceratosaurus came in and killed me. The Dilophosaurus in the Isle is the second largest on the list, with a max weight of 700 kilograms. At this size, it rivals some of the largest polar bears out there, and has the power to match. But that's not what makes it such a threat. Despite it being weaker than the Turok variant, I think that its assets make it more dangerous overall. This Dilophosaurus has venom just like Michael Crichton's, but its venom isn't a burning acid-like liquid. This one makes you see and take damage from things that don't even exist. If this animal manages to bite you, the surroundings start to get covered in a dark barrier, and the more it bites you, the closer this darkness covers the surrounding area. You can't see anything outside that bubble, and if you get bitten enough, your mind begins to attack itself. You begin to hallucinate multiple other dilos that attack you, and they are relentless. You can outrun them if you're a fast dinosaur like a Carno, but you gotta make sure your stamina is full, because the hallucinations do take a while to despawn. Even though it's not an actual animal attacking you, you still take damage, which from where I'm sitting could only mean that your brain starts to stress due to the venom's effect, and it starts hurting itself by imagining an assault from an attacker that doesn't exist. Even if the illusions don't kill you, it gives the real Dilophosaurus more than enough time to take you down in your weakened state. I read somewhere that they now patched it recently so that you can't see the clones anymore. I don't know if that's true, but if it is, you still lose either way, because you're now being attacked by enemies you can't even see. Like most dinosaurs in this game, the Dilophosaurus can also get some broken mutations like saltwater drinking, increased healing rate, and a mutation that makes the Dilophosaurus less susceptible to attacks from larger creatures. Sometimes this very mutation comes in handy when drinking from the rivers filled with Deinosuchus, because you have a chance of living if they actually get a biting on you, but if they decide to grab you, then there is really nothing you can do. It can trade blows with some of the more robust carnivores too, such as the Carno and the Ceratosaurus, and at night it's one of the most feared predators on the map due to its enhanced night vision. Also at night, the venom hallucinations are much worse and happen faster compared to the day. So while not being the most physically powerful predator in the game, it still manages to remain one of the most feared once the sun sets. Alrighty folks, that's gonna do it for this video. I hope the Dilo fans who've been requested this for a while liked the video. Do you folks agree with my ranking, or were there some that could outform even these monsters I've mentioned in the video? Before the month is over, I do plan on starting a Discord and a membership so that I can interact with you guys more than in the YouTube comments. With that said, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.